traders at Access Bank expect an active market today as investors continue to cherry pick on the run bonds as investors continue deploying their funds in the Treasury bills market. Ademola Osuntoki, the Treasury Team Lead at Access Bank, joins me now for more on the market this week. Thank you so much for your time today, Ademola. It's been quite a busy week, if you will say. First, we had a very busy Monday with the dollar bond opening there and also the bond auction overselling. But I'd like to let me get your thoughts around some of the key highlights of the market this week.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So I think, as you mentioned, we've seen a really busy week, especially within the fixed income space. The reason for this is we've had an increased liquidity standpoint for this week. So we've seen a lot of people trying to utilize those excess funds in the best possible way. So I'll start with the bond auction. So on Monday, we had a bond auction where about 190 billion was offered from the DMO. We did see them oversell by about 374 billion. And what we saw was that trend of rates start to decline. We know that last week, we saw our inflation figures, and they've come down for the first time in a long while. So from about 34% to about 33% where it is currently. And that essentially was the basis for what we saw within the fixed income market this week. On Wednesday as well, we did see the NTB auction where about 409 billion was offered across the standard maturities. So that's the 91, the 182, as well as the 364. And quite interestingly, what we did see from the DMO was them underselling, which was a trend that we've not seen, especially within recent months. So consequently, what we saw was a steady decline across the rates for all of them. And at the long end, it fixed at about 20.99, which is about a 99 basis points decline from what we've seen at the last auction.
All right, let's get to the dollar bond. Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, so I think as we've seen, this is the first series out of a total size of about 2 billion. So it stands at about 500 million. The coupon rate is about 9.75. So it is quite attractive. And what we've seen within the market is, a lot of demand, especially within the retail space, for this bond. Within corporates, we have seen some interest as well. And our expectation is, as in the lead up to the deadline, which is next week, we'll continue to see those demand figures ramp up considerably.
Yeah, going back to the fixed income market now and looking at next week, though, how do you see investors then positioning across the curve?
So I think, as I mentioned, there's a lot of excess liquidity within the market. So people are very bullish both on the NTB space as well as the bond space. We're waiting to see if CBN will release an OMO auction because, that's the trend that we tend to see when there's a lot of excess liquidity in the market. Last week, the figures were about 600, shortly over 600 billion. And the reason for that was due to FAC payments within the system, which increased this by about 450 billion from the previous week. So I'm expecting, we're waiting to see if there'll be an OMO auction. But by and large, what we're expecting is we'll continue to see that trend of excess demand across both the NTB space as well as the bond space.
Yeah, but in terms of liquidity, yes, you mentioned that we could see that OMO auction play out. But in terms of what we would see in terms of coupon maturities coming in there, what's your outlook for the rest of the month?
So we know that for next month, for example, we're going to have coupon payments that come into the market that also increase liquidity position considerably. It's been an interesting week because, we've seen a lot of liquidity this week, which hasn't been the trend this year. Most times we've seen the market in a repo. So it has been interesting to see that increased liquidity standpoint. And, we've seen how that has outplayed, especially within the fixed income space, which has spurred a lot of interest and demand, across in the short dated papers. So we've seen a lot of demand, especially on the 364-day paper. So within the next couple of months, we're waiting to see if there's an OMO auction that would help to reduce system liquidity considerably. But by and large, if it continues as it is, we'll continue to see that demand trickle into the fixed income space as people look to get increased returns on their investment.
Definitely a lot to look forward to next week there. Thank you so much for your time. Ademola Osuntoki there, the Treasury Team Lead at Access Bank.